Small Bulgarian village. The year is 1550. The morning mist clings to the valley like a shroud as you help your father tend to the sheep. Their bells ring softly in the dawn, a song you've heard every morning of your life. Your mother is inside. You can smell the warm bread, goat's milk simmering on the hearth. Everything smells like home. Everything tastes like safety. Then you hear it. Not the wind, not the birds, but hooves. Dozens of hooves, pounding against the cobblestone road like thunder tearing the sky apart. Your father stops. He doesn't speak. His face turns white. The bell in your hand keeps ringing, even after you've stopped moving. Your mother drops the clay pitcher she's holding. It shatters. The first crack in your world. A procession arrives. Tall men wrapped in silk robes. Their horses are restless. Their boots are clean despite the long journey. Their eyes scan your village like merchants choosing fruit at a market. Scrolls, lists, names. They dismount. One opens a scroll. Another looks at your group of boys, your friends, your cousins, your brother. Then a hand rises and points at you. Your mother drops to her knees, screaming in a language they don't care to understand. Your father stays frozen. He knows what resistance means. Death. For everyone. Your mother begs. She grabs a man's boots. She kisses the hem of his robe. He kicks her away like dust. You are lifted, pulled, pushed. A firm grip on your arm. A soldier speaking words you don't know. They say you're lucky. Chosen. That you will serve the Sultan. That you'll rise to greatness. But all you feel is the shaking of the cart wheels beneath you as the village disappears behind you. Your mother collapsed in the dirt. Your father still frozen, hands clenched in silent agony. You don't cry. Not yet. Not until the last sound of the sheep's bell fades into the wind. Then you do. You cry like a child who's been stolen from himself. Because that's what you are now. Stolen. They give you new clothes. Rich fabrics. Strange colors. They wash you. Cut your hair. Tell you your old name is too rural, too common. You're given a new name. A number. A purpose. Other. Boys are here. Some older. Some silent. Some staring at walls as if something is still screaming there. They tell you this is the Enderun, the inner palace. The place where boys become men. Where boys become servants. Warriors. Advisors. Even lovers. You are 11. No one explains the rules. You learn them in the silences. In the glances. In the way the eunuchs avoid your eyes. In the way the wrong answer earns a beating and the right answer earns attention. You are told to smile. To obey. To be graceful. To listen. The walls are gold. But the air is cold. You hear laughter behind silk curtains. Whispers in corridors. You see the older boys walking closely behind older men. Smiling politely. Hiding something behind their eyes. One of them tells you at night, don't catch anyone's eye. Not yet. You don't sleep much after that. Time passes differently here. Days blur into rituals. You learn languages you'll never use. How to dance. How to serve. How to be silent. You feel yourself changing. Not into someone new, but into someone that doesn't belong to you anymore. One night, a man visits. He watches you from across the room. Doesn't speak. Just watches. The next morning, you are promoted. Better clothes. Softer slippers. More polished marble under your feet. You're told to be grateful. You're told this is honor. But no one talks about the boys who don't return from the silk-curtained rooms. No one mentions the silence that falls over dinner when someone disappears. You ask once. Just once. Where is his condor? They look at you like you've asked why the sun sets. You learn to stop asking. You learn to bow with just the right depth. You learn to laugh on cue. You learn that pain is quieter than rebellion. You see boys turned into favorites, turned into pets, groomed and paraded. Those who are chosen are untouchable, but never free. You once saw a boy your age, beautiful, delicate, obedient, pulled into a shadowed hallway by a man with rings that gleamed like blood. He returned the next day, dressed in silk, and he didn't speak again. He just smiled too much and blinked too little. Asterisk, you knew then, this is not a palace. It is a golden cage where boys are trained not just to serve, but to disappear. You are now 14. You speak 3 languages. You walk with grace. You bow at the perfect angle. You are praised for your posture, for your obedience. They say you are becoming valuable. But no one asks what you want, because that stopped. Matching the day they took you from your mother's arms. You remember her face every night. even though the memory grows foggier with each passing year. You remember the way she held your hand while grinding grain. You remember the smell of goat's milk, the way she hummed while braiding your hair. You remember her tears. But no one here cries. Not out loud. Not even when they're called at night. Not even when they return the next morning and never speak again. The officials walk the marble floors with the confidence of gods. They carry no shame. They hide nothing. This is not a secret. This is the system. You come to understand something that chills you far deeper than any punishment ever could. Sexual exploitation here is not hidden. It's woven into the structure of the palace. It is not scandalous. It is tradition. You are not prey. You are a part of the machinery. The most beautiful boys are chosen, watched, groomed, their paths cleared, their futures promised. Not because they are gifted, but because someone powerful has taken an interest. You notice how those boys change. First their shoes, then their posture, then their eyes. You can't hate them. You understand. Because here, survival depends on silence. Here, to be chosen is to be safe, for a while. You once saw a boy refuse. Just once. He was gone the next morning. Not moved. Gone. You begin to feel something even worse than fear. You begin to feel normal. Like this was always supposed to happen. You catch your reflection in the palace mirror. You don't see the shepherd boy from the village. You see something polished, pliant, pretty. You hate that the man who looks back is no longer yours. You hate that part of you is beginning to play the game. You laugh when they expect it. You eat when they allow it. You thank them when they give you silk, even though all you want is rough wool and the smell of sheep dung. They tell you that you're on track now, that if you continue to behave, you may be invited to serve in the Sultan's private court. Some boys take pride in this. They say it's honor. You know better. Honor should not feel like drowning, and yet, they call this the Golden Age. They write poems about the beauty of court boys. They paint your kind in rich oils, with soft eyes and delicate hands, standing beside the empire's greatest leaders. You are remembered in art, but never in grief, never in truth, because the world has always remembered power, not what it cost. Some nights, you lie awake and wonder, what became of your father? Did he survive the winter without your help? Did your mother ever forgive herself for letting you go? Did they burn your name out of the village to forget the shame? Or did she sit by the door every morning, just in case? You will never know. Because the palace taught you many things: politics, obedience, languages, but never how to go back. Years pass. You grow taller, sharper. Your voice deepens. You are no longer a child. But the child is still inside you, screaming beneath the silence. You hear that scream every time another boy is chosen, every time another mother's child is turned into a trophy. And you say nothing, because here, pain is polite. Suffering is decorated in gold. Then one day, it ends. Not because the empire collapses, not because someone brings justice, but because time passes and you are no longer of interest. You are moved to a different wing, given new duties, less visible. They say you've been promoted, but you know better. You've simply aged out of their desires. They will start again with another boy, another village, another mother crying in the dirt. You wonder if your silence made you complicit, if your stillness, your bowed head, your survival was a kind of betrayal. But then you remember, you were a child. They were gods, and gods do not ask permission before they take what they want. The empire remembers you as a loyal servant. But your story was never written. Your name was never carved into marble. Only your obedience, only your beauty, only your usefulness. Centuries pass. The palace is now a museum. Tourists walk its halls in sandals and headphones. They marvel at the stained glass, the gold leaf, the velvet cushions. But they do not see you. They do not hear your story whispered behind the stone walls. Unless someone speaks it. Unless someone tells the truth. Unless someone remembers. The palace doesn't remember your footsteps, but the floor does. The stones you walked across barefoot still remember the weight of your silence, the cold of your fear, the warmth of blood that never made it into any poem. You are not in the paintings. You are not in the scrolls or court records. You are in the spaces between them, the quiet margins where history forgets to look. And yet, you were there. You existed. You mattered. They call it a golden age. They speak of glory, of conquest, of an empire that stretched across continents and swallowed kingdoms whole. But no one speaks of the children who oiled its gears, The boys who were taken before they could choose who to become. The boys who were promised greatness, only to be shaped into shadows. You are not angry anymore, just tired. Tired of being remembered as something exotic. Tired of your suffering being dressed in silk and called a tradition. You want to be remembered as a child with a family, with a language, with dreams that did not include gilded cages and velvet ropes around your neck. The empire moved on. The rulers changed. The palaces cracked. But the system survived in silence. It slithered into new forms, new names, new uniforms. Because power never vanishes. It simply finds new children. Some call you lucky. They say, at least you lived. At least you made it to the court. At least you weren't thrown to the streets. But no one who lived like this would call it living. You were not meant to be a fortunate one. You were meant to be a son, a brother, a boy who could climb trees, not court ranks. A boy who could speak his mind, not smile through pain. A boy who could grow into a man without debt to anyone's pleasure. But here, you were currency. Decorated, displayed, discarded. The empire taught you that your worth was not in who you were, but in how useful you were to someone more powerful. They used your hands to serve, your mouth to flatter, your beauty to decorate their decadence. And when you no longer glowed, they found another candle to light. Still, your story did not end in silence. Because someone is listening now. Someone is here, right now, remembering. Not your scars, but your strength. You endured in a place where no child should have. You walked through corridors of cruelty with dignity they tried to take from you. You survived, not because they allowed it, but because you held on to a piece of yourself they could never touch. That piece, the sound of sheep bells, the smell of warm bread, your mother's voice calling your name across the fields. They tried to erase it, but they couldn't. And now, it returns. The air that once carried your fearful breaths is still. But your story echoes. It echoes through time like a call that cannot be buried under gold or forgotten under marble. It demands something simple, something eternal, that we bear witness, that we remember, not as curious tourists or detached historians, but as humans. Humans who owe it to the past, not to glorify its greatness, but to grieve its violence. So we say your name, even if history never wrote it down. We carry your memory, even if your empire never cared to. We look at these palace walls and no longer see splendor. We see sacrifice. We see stolen childhoods wrapped in silk. We see you, and to you, and all the boys like you. We say, you were not a decoration. You were not a secret. You were not a thing to be used and tossed aside. You were a child, and your suffering matters, not as a footnote, but as a testimony to human strength, to quiet rebellion, to the courage of surviving where no one should have to. Remembering your story, we honor not just your pain, but the pain of all children who were ever caught in the machinery of power. You are not forgotten. You are the voice behind these palace walls. And now we've heard you.